Disaster looming. Commanders Nation. The win-now strategy is poisoning us. Washed-up vets are choking out young talent while the defense is falling apart. Will Peters admit his critical mistake? Emergency fix incoming. 2 edge rushers from the Jets could save Yusuf. But the trade deadline is closing in. Do we gamble on Johnson or pay up for McDonald? This is a decision that could shape our future. And heads up, fantasy analysts are mocking our secondary. How does the name Hollywood Brown expose our weakness against Mahomes? If we don't act today, Arrowhead will be a humiliation. This is bigger than football. It's about the survival of the franchise. Real fan, subscribe and defend your squad. Stick around till the END or regret it later. Let me tell you something that's got me absolutely fired up. After years of watching this team suffer under Dan Snyder, we finally thought we had a real front office with Adam Peters in charge. But now, 7 weeks into the season, we're watching that free agency strategy everyone hyped up last year completely fall apart. I'm telling you this, when Peters came in during the spring of 2024, we were all hyped. Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, names that would get any NFL fan excited. But here's the issue, and it's driving me nuts. Those names would have been perfect back in 2018. It's 2025 now, and these guys just aren't the same. Think about it for a second. Wagner used to be a dominant linebacker, a future Hall of Famer for sure. But now, he's just too slow to keep up. Ertz, one of the best tight ends of his era, doesn't have that burst anymore. And Eckler? He was a key piece for the Chargers for years, but he tore his Achilles in week 2. That might be the end of his career. But here's where it gets really concerning. After the Commanders won 12 games last year and made it to the NFC Championship thanks to Jaden Daniels' historic rookie season, Peters completely flipped the script. Suddenly, the rebuild was scrapped, and we went full win-now mode. They brought in even more vets. Marshon Lattimore, Laramie Tunsil, Von Miller, Deebo Samuel. Now let me ask you this. How many of those guys are actually playing at the level we expected? Lattimore looks like a shell of his Saints days. Miller's just a rotational piece. And Samuel, while still talented, hasn't had the explosive impact we needed. The issue isn't just that these players are aging. The real problem is that this strategy has shut the door on our young guys getting reps. Mike Sainristil and Quan Martin, who showed so much promise late last year, have taken a step back. Luke McCaffrey and Jordan McGee are barely seeing the field when they should be gaining valuable experience. I believe Peters boxed himself in by ditching the rebuild to go all in. It worked short term, sure, but now we're paying the price. With over 30 games missed by starters due to injury, and we're not even halfway through the season, this plan is looking more desperate than deliberate. Meanwhile, Jerry Jones in Dallas keeps betting on young talent and building through the draft. The Eagles built a balanced roster with youth and vets, and look where they are. The Giants? They've got their own issues, but at least they're investing in their future. The truth is brutal. This team is old and slow, especially on defense. And when you lose your third defensive end of the season, with Dorrance Armstrong going down, you realize you don't have the depth to compete at the highest level. So now, I ask you, was Peters right to go all in after last year's success? Or should he have stuck with the long-term rebuild? One thing's clear. Priority number 1 this offseason has to be getting younger. We need speed, youth, and players who can grow with Jaden Daniels over the next few years. But if that's got you worried, wait till you hear this, because there's a golden opportunity that could help us salvage this season before it's too late. Let's talk solutions, because it's not all doom and gloom in the DMV. There's one NFL team that's completely on fire, and not in a good way. The New York Jets are the only winless team heading into Week 8, sitting at 0-7 with their whole organization in full blown panic mode. And here's where it gets interesting for us. Jordan Schultz recently reported that multiple teams are keeping an eye on the Jets ahead of the November 4th trade deadline. Some of the names being floated include Breece Hall, Quincy Williams, Jermaine Johnson II, Will McDonald IV, Michael Carter II, and Alan Lazard. I'm telling you this, out of all those names, there are two I'm locked in on, and they're exactly what we need after losing Dorrance Armstrong for the year. I'm talking about edge rushers Jermaine Johnson II and Will McDonald IV. Let's start with Jermaine Johnson. This guy's got a story Dan Quinn would absolutely love. Started at Independence Community College, was featured on Last Chance U, went to Georgia, then dominated at Florida State before being drafted in the first round by the Jets in 2022. Pick number 20-6. Johnson made the Pro Bowl in 2023. Shows you the kind of talent he's got when healthy. But here's the catch. Injuries have haunted him the last 2 years. He's only played 6 games combined in 2024 and so far in 2025. But, and this is key, he finally looks healthy. In weeks 6 and 7, he racked up 9 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 QB hits over 92 defensive snaps. Now, the Jets reportedly want a 3rd-round pick for him. I think that's a bit steep given his injury history. But here's the thing, his 5th-year option was picked up and it's worth $13.4 million, fully guaranteed next year. Adam Peters could easily work out a contract extension to lower that number and give us some cap flexibility. But if Johnson feels too risky for you, let me tell you about Will McDonald IV, another first-rounder by the Jets. Drafted in 2023 out of Iowa State. And here's the key difference. McDonald doesn't come with the injury baggage Johnson does. Check these numbers. 15 games as a rookie, 17 games in 2024, and all 7 games so far in 2025. The guy's durable, and that's exactly what we need. He had 10.5 sacks last year and is on pace for more this season. Even with the Jets sitting at 0-7, McDonald still has a full year left on his rookie deal plus the 5th-year option, which means any team trading for him gets control for several more years. He'll probably cost more than Johnson, but he might be worth every penny long dash term dot. So let me ask you, isn't this exactly what we need? We lost Montez Sweat to injury. Chase Young walked in free agency last year, and now Armstrong's out for the season. Our pass rush has been inconsistent, and it's killing our secondary dot while the Cowboys are scrambling with last-minute desperation moves. We've got a chance to make a calculated play that helps us now and down the road. The Eagles made moves like this when they brought in guys like Hassan Reddick, and look how that turned out. Quinn's been clear all year. He and Peters are actively looking for ways to improve this team, inside and outside the building. With Monday Night Football against Kansas City coming up, we're all hoping that breakthrough comes sooner rather than later. But every trade has 2 sides. The Jets don't have to rush anything. The deadline's November 4th, and the outcome of this weekend's game could weigh heavily on what Peters decides. If we lose to Kansas City and drop to 4-4, are we still buyers? Or do we start thinking about the future? But here's what I think. This is not the time to hesitate. This is a golden opportunity to bolster our D-line with young talent that can grow with Jaden Daniels. And it's not just about edge rushers. Michael Carter II is also available and could be a perfect fit for a team like ours that needs help in the secondary. The radar is buzzing with potential gems for teams looking for talent, and this is just one roster that might be hiding buried treasure under that 0-7 start. So I ask you, should we go all in for Johnson or McDonald? Or should we wait and see what other chances pop up before the deadline? And just when you thought we were done, here comes something that's going to expose our defensive weaknesses in the most brutal way possible. Now, let's talk about something that, on the surface, looks like just fantasy football chatter, but actually highlights a huge issue with our secondary. And trust me, this is way more serious than it sounds. Mike Florio from NFL.com just dropped a fantasy piece recommending managers to bench Hollywood Brown of the Chiefs this week against us. And you might think, hey, that's good news for us, right? You'd be dead wrong. I'm telling you this. The reason Florio says to sit Brown isn't because our defense is good. It's because the Chiefs have so many weapons that Brown probably won't get enough targets. Rashee Rice is back and soaking up targets. Xavier Worthy is breaking out. Travis Kelce is still Travis Kelce. So Brown's fighting for scraps. But here's the real issue no one's talking about. Florio's basically saying Kansas City is going to feast with their top receivers against our secondary. It's not a compliment. It's confirmation that our defense is so weak. The Chiefs don't even need to go deep into their depth chart to torch us. Let me remind you what happened last week against Dallas. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson combined for 16 catches, 221 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, the lower-tier receivers like Kevin Turpin and Jalen Tolbert only had 2 catches for 33 yards. See the pattern? When teams have healthy elite receivers, they light us up. And now Kansas City is coming in fully healthy, right on time to take advantage, just like the Cowboys did. The Commanders' secondary hasn't done much to stop opposing offenses from hitting big plays this season. And that's a weird shift from last year's unit, which was pretty solid at keeping things in check. So let me ask you, how does a secondary that was solid last year fall off this hard? Mike Sainristil was one of our most promising players at the end of 2024. Quan Martin was emerging as a reliable safety. What happened? I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, the lack of development for young players. When you brought in all those vets and switched to win-now mode, the young guys didn't get a chance to keep growing. And now we're paying for it. But wait, there's more. Florio also says to avoid starting Marcus Mariota in fantasy this week, even though the vet has played well when called upon. In his 2 starts this season, Mariota averaged over 8 fantasy points per game. So why bench him against Kansas City? Because the Chiefs are one of the stingiest defenses in the league when it comes to fantasy points allowed, regular points allowed, total yards allowed, and passing touchdowns allowed. Since week 2, they've only allowed 1 top 15 fantasy QB. And here's what really worries me. If Mariota, who's been solid, is considered a bad play against Kansas City, what does that say about our chances on Monday Night Football? We're heading into Arrowhead in prime time without Jaden Daniels, probably without Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, and facing a defense that's been locking down quarterbacks all year. Meanwhile, our defense has to deal with Patrick Mahomes and all his weapons. Rashee Rice is back. Travis Kelce is still elite. Xavier Worthy is showing why he was a first-round pick. And our secondary, which has struggled all season, has to figure out how to stop them. Now think about this. The Cowboys shredded us last week with their top receivers. The Chiefs have an even more dangerous offense. How are we supposed to stop them if we couldn't stop Dallas? The honest answer is we probably can't. Not the way we're playing right now. And that's what makes this fantasy analysis so telling. It's not just about fantasy points. It's exposing the reality of where we are as a team. Right now, so I ask you, can our defense find a way to keep this game competitive? Or are we about to watch another offensive clinic from the other side while our secondary struggles to keep up? Look, Commanders Nation, these 3 stories paint a full picture of where we are as a team right now. We've got a roster-building strategy under fire, a trade deadline opportunity that could help us, and a Monday Night Football matchup that's going to expose every weakness we've got. But here's the thing. We are Commanders Nation. We've been through years of pain under Snyder, survived the Ron Rivera era, and now we've finally got a franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels. This is not the time to jump ship. Should Adam Peters have stuck with the long-term rebuild instead of going all in after last year's success? Let me know in the comments. Should we go hard after Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald before the trade deadline? I want to hear your takes. And can our defense and Marcus Mariota keep this game competitive against Kansas City on Monday Night Football? That's the million-dollar question. If you think Peters needs to make a move before the deadline, hit that LIKE button. If you think we should focus on the future and stop trading away picks, subscribe to the channel. And if you believe we can shock the world at Arrowhead on Monday night, drop a comment below and tell me why this is a family here on the channel. And we've got to stick together through the highs and the lows. Subscribe so you don't miss any updates, because I promise you, we've got more explosive Commanders news coming tomorrow. Hit that notification bell because you do not want to miss what's next. And remember, hail to the Redskins!